as well.
And what I really like in combination with that is that you've got the Terra flying on the Incineroar, so when you do set up that Trick Room, when you do get that Ursaluna going, you have another option other than the Flamigo to be able to take an Earthquake and not knock yourself out in the process, and also be able to fake out Parting Shot, get some damage off with Knockoff or Flare Blitz. That sort of combination really gets you steamrolling through that Trick Room. And Incineroar, we always call it a support Pokemon, and largely it is, but it's really something that you've got to remember now and then, that actually Incineroar can do damage.
Yeah, it can, and especially if you invest into its attack. Like most trainers, when, like you said, they see it as a support Pokemon, let's invest completely into its bulk, but it can absolutely do some damage if you invest into its attack. We're seeing it straight away coming out from Anthony's side of the field, paired up with a Flamigo, and there it is. We've been saying we want to see it. Here it is. There is that Vivian paired up with the Primarina.
And this is 2 for the price of 1 yet again here, and I'm really liking the position that the Primarina is in right now. Even though there's a fake out pressure on the field, Flamigo's only damage-dealing options are Close Combat and Dual Wing Beat, and while Dual Wing Beat is going to do quite a lot of damage, most notably would go through the Focus Sash of the Vivian, it's not going to do too much to the Primarina, and of course Incineroar's same type attack bonus moves are also not going to be very effective. So while the fake out pressure is on Federico right now, the Primarina is in a fantastic position next turn to be going for some damage.
Yeah, you're going to store this turn of fake out, of course, coming out from that Incineroar, which is absolutely what was going to happen there. And yeah, Dual Wing Beat would be able to KO that Vivian through its Focus Sash. Not the common Brave Bird that we've been seeing on the Flamigo, so maybe just going for Dual Wing Beat because of the lack of recoil to break your own Focus Sash. But maybe Anthony was expecting all these Vivian to be able to come out, because now, yes, Flamigo is faster than Vivian. It's able to knock it out in one shot, so you'll be able to stop any of the Sleep Powders that could be Spore. I was going to say Spore. It's not Spore. It's close.
It's close.
It's Sleep Powder.
Close.
It's really good Sleep Powder, but it's slower than Flamigo, and that would be able to pick up the knockout with the Dual Wing Beat.
And that's why Vivian is going straight back to Federico, deciding to switch in there Incineroar. The Intimidate's going to come out onto the board, but not going to affect that scrappy Flamigo. It's going to be attacking at full power this turn. And yeah, here we go, the Dual Wing Beat. No close combat called into the Incineroar on the switch in, just going for the safe play there. Incineroar taking that like an absolute champ. Parting Shot slowing down that Primarina, but most notably, even though Federico is going for a faster, less Trick Room orientated team, the Incineroar on Anthony's side was faster than the Primarina, and that's not something I would have necessarily expected.
No, but it's going to be impactful here because that Incineroar gets out of the field, so it's not going to be able to take any of the super effective Hyper Voices that is coming out from the Primarina. And yeah, look at that. That Porygon 2 took absolutely nothing, but the Focus Sash is broken on the Flamigo, and that was still, like, it didn't do that much damage, but the Focus Sash being broken means that Moonblast can now be a KO even at -1. Flare Blitz is still probably a KO into the Flamigo as well.
And of course, we can see the Terra Ghost there on the Incineroar. That's definitely a call that both of these players are going to have to be thinking about, because if the Flamigo just goes straight for the close combat into the Incineroar and it goes for a Terra Ghost, it's not going to do anything whatsoever.
It will, because of the Scrappy. That's exactly why we see Flamigo. Yes, it would be a defensive Terra, so it would go back to neutral. So based on the Dual Wing Beat damage, maybe it would survive, but yeah, like it would still hit it for sure. So the Terra Ghost, it won't get an immunity there, but sort of Flamigo is not going to be going for that close combat. Of course, if you're facing down an opposing Incineroar, switch in your own Incineroar, get that Intimidate back on the field.
I like that play quite a lot, and not just because it's the consistent Incineroar cycle that we've come to know and love in the video game championships, but because it means that the Flamigo is safe for later. It's definitely going to be one of those Pokemon that's going to make a big impact in the end game. You want to make sure that it's still there when the Vivian comes back onto the field, just to pressure away those Sleep Powders. Moonblast doesn't do much damage whatsoever, and a Parting Shot into that Porygon 2 is going to lower its stats. Most notably, the download boost was on the attack, not the special attack, so that Porygon 2 is going to be struggling to do damage right now.
Yeah, but it would still be able to break a Focus Sash of this now switching in Vivian that has hit the field. But no, it's not going to be attack. It's going to be the Trick Room instead. And very, very impactful there that we saw that the Incineroar was outspeeding the Primarina. So actually, this is kind of benefiting the Primarina to be in this position. Vivian is now the slowest Pokemon on the field, so going for a Sleep Powder into that Porygon 2 might not happen if the Porygon and the Incineroar just double up into it with a Flare Blitz and a Terra Blast.
Especially since the Primarina has its stats already dropped, its special attack has been dropped, it's probably not going to be able to, well, we saw it's not going to be able to do anything to the Porygon 2. It's probably not going to be able to do too much to the Incineroar either. So could be something that's worth considering is going for a Haze in this situation, reset your own stats, and then you kind of make Hyper Voice a little bit more of a viable option.
Yeah, but there's just the Ice Beam and really good damage into the opposing Vivian. There's the Hyper Voice, but because of that earlier parting shot, not enough to pick up the KO on the Incineroar, which is now able to respond back with the Flare Blitz, and that's easily able to pick up the KO on that Vivian. No Sleep Powders into the Porygon 2.
I think after the Trick Room, the Vivian is kind of the weak link in the team in that situation. But now the Golden Go gets an opportunity to come in, and Golden Go with its Steel and Ghost typing is walling Porygon 2, so to speak. Porygon 2 can't do too much damage to the Golden Go whatsoever. And now that the Primarina is in a spot where the Incineroar has taken a lot of damage, the Primarina is going before the Incineroar, it's able to knock it out and allow the space for Golden Go to go for a boosting nasty plot, get itself set up, and maybe I guess if the Flamigo comes in and we're still in Trick Room, that would be putting a lot of pressure on the board.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with a Hyper Voice nasty plot. Maybe Anthony needs to consider reversing his own Trick Room now to be able to allow that Flamigo to outspeed the opposing Golden Go and then threaten the KO. But nope, not going to be reversing it here. It's going to be the Terra Blast for not really much damage at all into that Primarina, and that is able to respond back with a KO into the Incineroar.
I mean, Porygon 2 and Primarina are trying their best, and Primarina's doing a little bit of a better job than Porygon 2 right now. But just a make it rain on the Golden Go
really
there.
Good damage.
Yeah, really great damage. Single target, not a spread move anymore because the Incineroar was already knocked out. And if I'm not mistaken, that's probably putting the Porygon 2 in range of maybe a Moonblast from the Primarina if it's able to even land one at this stage.
Yeah, probably not Hyper Voice, not a -1, but yeah, Moonblast, that's going to be close. That should be able to pick up the knockout on that Porygon 2. Ursaluna has joined the field, but it's not burned yet, so it's not going to be able to do as much damage, but he's going to be able to pick up the knockout on the opposing Golden Go even without the Guts boost for sure. But the Primarina is still pretty safe here. The Headlong Rush probably won't pick up the knockout on that Primarina. You've got the Incineroar waiting in the back that you could switch in, reset the special attack drop that you've just taken on the Golden Go, and get the Intimidate onto the opposing Ursaluna, so your Primarina is definitely going to be able to survive and hopefully get that Moonblast into that opposing Porygon 2, and that looks like it might be exactly what we're seeing here.
Incineroar coming in, and as you said, Jamie, getting that Intimidate onto the field. Of course, it is Terra Ghost as well, so the Headlong Rush isn't going to be doing super effective damage at all. And now the Ursaluna, I believe, will get the opportunity to go for its Terra Ghost. Make sure it's not taking super effective damage from the Primarina and kind of get itself set up to be able to launch those powerful facades. You know the Trick Room's going to be ending soon. There we are, Headlong Rush into the Incineroar, not doing too much at all. You know the Trick Room's going to be ending soon, so you're kind of waiting for Flamigo in the back to be able to come in and deal with the Golden Go. In the meantime, Porygon 2's got to stay on the field and keep itself healthy with Recover.
Yeah, and that was really not much damage at all from that Hyper Voice. Even with the Headlong Rush dropping the special defenses of that Ursaluna, going for its Ghost Terra, so it was neutral to that Water Hyper Voice, means it's actually still pretty healthy here. And the Porygon 2, it looked like it could have been in range of Moonblast, but of course the Porygon 2 was slower than that Primarina, so even if it would have been a Moonblast into that slot, it would have been able to get that Recover first and easily be able to survive. And now the Ursaluna has got its Flame Orb activated. It's threatening huge damage with a Facade. A -1 Primarina should just about be able to live. Assumedly it's going to be a bulky Primarina, given it's holding a Citrus Berry. That should allow it to be able to survive that attack.
I think you're right, Jamie. I think that's exactly the sort of board state that we're in right now. And of course, the consistency of Hyper Voice coming out. I think, though, it's holding the Citrus Berry. So if the Primarina was able to take a Facade and then heal up a little bit, the question I've got is whether or not it would have been able to take a dual wing beat afterwards. But we won't have to find out this turn because it's switching out for the Golden Go.
Yeah, not going to be able to go on the offensive here. If that would have been a Facade into Primarina, Golden Go would have appreciated that a lot. But Porygon 2 able to recover once again, back up to full HP, and the Ursaluna was not targeted here at all. There goes the Eviolite from that Porygon 2, thanks to that knockoff from the Incineroar. So very, very solid play coming out from Federico here, right as the Trick Room is over.
That's a big, big deal. We saw how much damage the Make It Rain from this Metal Coat Golden Go did in the previous turn. It was single target, so it's kind of similar, like making all of the Make It Rains kind of single target in terms of the damage that it's going to deal. But I think I'm more worried for Anthony about the damage that can potentially be taken on the Ursaluna this turn, especially if the Ursaluna doesn't go for a Protect and Federico calls it, goes for a Shadow Ball, just knocks it out. I think that's most of Anthony's damage down. I mean, you've got the Scrappy Flamigo in the back, but it can only target one Pokemon at a time, and its Focus Sash has already been broken.
Yeah, I reckon this is still going to KO, though, because it's taken a headlong rush to a special defense drop as well. So I reckon it would have survived without that, but yeah, the special defense drop, that's a KO on the Ursaluna here. Porygon 2 without its Eviolite has surely got to be in range of Flare Blitz as well. Yeah. So this is looking like it's going to be a double KO, and I don't think Flamigo, with a Focus Sash broken, is able to 1v3 here.
Only targeting one Pokemon at a time really is the downfall of Flamigo. If it wants to go for a close combat to knock out a Golden Go, then it's going to have to drop its own defenses. And even if it wasn't already likely that Flare Blitz was going to be able to pick up a knockout onto the Flamigo, well, yeah, after a defense drop, it probably would do. Of course, now that it's single target on Make It Rain as well, there's another scenario where the Incineroar goes down to a close combat, or maybe even a dual wing beat if you're feeling confident about it. But then Make It Rain single target is probably going to knock out the Flamigo from here regardless.
Yeah, I would suspect it would. Even at -1, you got the Metal Coat boost as well. There does go the Incineroar down to that dual wing beat, able to pick up the KO there. But now, like you said, this is still single target. Flamigo's defenses aren't great, to be honest. So even with this -1, there goes the Flamigo, and game 1 for Federico.
What a fantastic game that was, back and forward. But really the star of the show for me was that Primarina, just being able to sit in front of Anthony's Pokemon and kind of not worry about it. I think, like, there's definitely a conversation to be had, I think, in Anthony's mind about, like, hey, do I just need to push that Trick Room a little bit sooner in the game? I tried to get that Ursaluna set up, maybe switch it in as we've seen earlier today, get the Flame Orb activated straight away. Even if you've got to take a little bit of damage from a Liquid Voice, Hyper Voice being a water type move, you still might be worth it, because then you've got more turns of Ursaluna being able to go for a Facade, go for a headlong rush, and try to punch some holes in Federico's team.
Yeah, it does seem like counterintuitive that Ursaluna is the best way through the Primarina. You just got to be contend with the Intimidate that can come out. Maybe the Golden Go can do something as well. If you get a Nasty Plot off, you're going to be able to KO the Primarina in one shot, given that you are the Life Orb variant of the Golden Go. So they're going to be able to threaten some really good damage with that as well. But that was left on the bench last time, so maybe consider going with the Golden Go against the opposing. Like, Vivillon can't go for... I almost said Spore again. Can't Sleep Powder you because of Good as Gold, even though it does outspeed you, and it can't redirect your Make It Rains as well. So Golden Go could be a reasonable adjustment here coming out for Anthony.
I really like that idea, and especially with the Life Orb as well. It's pretty typical that a Life Orb variant of Golden Go would be trained a little bit faster, playing on the more offensive aspect of what Golden Go can do. And yeah, I do agree that it would be dishing out a lot of damage in that scenario. Also worth noting that Federico didn't bring their own Life Orb Garchomp to the game, and so maybe if Anthony's thinking, hey, how do I adjust to this? I didn't see a Garchomp last game. Maybe the Golden Go's an even better pick than it would have been even if the Garchomp was brought by Federico.
I mean, assumingly that was what was scaring off the Golden Go, right? And there we go. You are seeing that adjustment absolutely coming out. And yeah, no Garchomp coming out for Federico's side of the field. It's going to be Incineroar and Primarina that was doing so well for Federico in that previous game. But there's the Amoonguss paired up with the opposing Golden Go. The safety goals in the Incineroar here going to be quite impactful. useful because you can ignore the Rage Powder that could be coming out. Assumedly, Anthony wants to be able to go for Rage Powder and Nasty Plot, and then suddenly there's the KO into the opposing Primarina, but you can't as safely go for that. You kind of need to commit your Terra into Terra Dragon straight away, which is going to be reasonable. Like, you resist Hyper Voice as well, and if you do Rage Powder, that's going to be able to draw away any Moonblast that would have been super effective into that Golden Go. So, yeah, Golden Go, like, it's threatened by the safety goggles Incineroar, but it's still in a somewhat reasonable position because it does have that defensive Terra of Terra Dragon rather than the common one that we usually see with Life Orb of Terra Steel.
Well, Primarina's not going to be sticking around at all. Maybe doesn't want to deal with the Life Orb boosted Make It Rains regardless of the scenario. Golden Go going for the Protect, and I really like that. It looks like Anthony's trying to okay, I thought it was trying to get a little bit cheeky with the going for a Spore that Federico is covering, but no, instead just a double Protect to scout out the Fake Out. Now Golden Go's on the field for Federico, and these Golden Go are staring each other down, but there's redirection on one side of the field, but not the other.
Yeah, and Amoonguss is in a really rough position now because, yeah, you could redirect the Shadow Ball, and that would do really good damage since the Golden Go, but you can't Spore either Pokemon. There's the safety goggles and there's the Good as Gold ability that's going to be preventing that. So yeah, it's really awkward for that Amoonguss. Rage Powder next to Nasty Plot would have been really nice in that first position, but going for that very safe double Protect instead, that would have been a Terra Dragon and maybe a side Pollen Puff Nasty Plot. That could have put Anthony in an absolutely fantastic position, but playing too passively there allowed that switching of the Golden Go, and now it's almost like it's a 2v1 because that Amoonguss is really not doing anything and is forced to switch out.
I like the switch out though, and I think the Terra Dragon that you called out for turn 1 could be just as effective in turn 2 here. But Incineroar's going to come in, make sure that Incineroar on Federico's side of the field is kept a little bit in check on this turn, and we are going to be seeing the first Terra of game 2. It's going to be the Golden Go, and it's going to be a Terra Dragon, so that looks like that's going to be Anthony's Golden Go, just trying to maybe get set up or even just put a Shadow Ball on the field.
I know, as Federico's, they're both Terra Dragon, and Federico's is faster, went for a Make It Rain instead. A very, very brave Golden Go here that did not go for its Terastallization from Anthony's side, launching off that Life Orb Shadow Ball. That was really good damage with the special defense drop to boot, but no Terastallization there. Yes, there was an Intimidate, but that's still a super effective knockout that is not able to pick up the knockout on that Golden Go. Even after the Life Orb recoil as well, it holds on in the red.
And speaking of Life Orb recoil, Jamie, that's going to be impactful for two reasons. First is that, you know, it's not going to be able to do as much damage, but second, because it actually allows this Golden Go at low HP to hang on and you know, attack turn after turn after turn. And now Golden Go on Federico's side, it was the faster of the two Golden Go. It's going to have to think about protecting from the Fake Out, but if the Incineroar reads into that on Anthony's side, fakes out the Incineroar, as we're seeing here, could open the door, but Federico not falling for it at all. Make It Rain, KOing that Golden Go on Anthony's side of the field.
Yeah, and that's one of the big ways through the Primarina taken care of. You've got Amoonguss and Incineroar that absolutely will not break through the opposing Primarina. I think you could tell by the reaction of Anthony there, that might have been a potential speed tie that he went for, because obviously he knows the training. If he is as fast as possible with the Golden Go, and Federico's was moving first, he knew that it could have been a speed tie. And there is the Flamigo there, so yeah, where's the damage into the Primarina now?
Yeah, I don't see it either. I mean, you've got the Amoonguss. What's the Amoonguss
it's just Pollen
running?
Puff.
It's just Pollen Puff, yeah. So maybe it's the Incineroar.
It's not.
No, it's
not.
Just keep Pollen Puffing it back.
No.
Big shot.
No, dual wing beat, I guess, is the best that we've got. So, and if you just break the focus sash of the Flamigo, then you just follow it with the Moonblast KO whenever you want now. So, yeah, really, really solid position for Federico. Even without the Primarina on the field, you just need to start chipping away at the Flamigo, and then, yeah, where is the damage going to come from?
Well, this damage is going to come from Flamigo into Incineroar, getting a close combat KO. But again, that leaves this Golden Go for Federico to make it rain yet again. It's at 2 stages of decreased special attack right now, but that doesn't matter. You can just break a Focus Sash, and wow, we're seeing the effect of how much damage that's going to be onto the Flamigo from game 1. Wow, that's even more impressive, as the knockoff does knock out that Golden Go. But we're back. As you're saying, Jamie, we're back now to the Primarina and the unrevealed Vivillon coming out for Federico. And yeah, I mean, I guess I guess the good thing for Anthony right now is that the Primarina, the Primarina is slower than the Incineroar. So it does give you some opportunities to play a little bit aggressively into it. I mean, the Vivian has to be knocked out this turn kind of by the Flamigo, but then that opens the door to Hyper Voice coming out from the Primarina. It's a really tough spot.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Flamigo going to be detecting it instead. But yeah, that's just a Hurricane into that Incineroar. Almost enough to pick up the knockout.
And the confusion.
Yeah, confusion, why not as well? To be able to put it in range of maybe even KOing itself. There is that potential confusion, and it is able to get the parting shot off at least. So going to be able to reduce the premium just a little bit.
And not confused anymore because it's managed to switch its way out. So yeah, Incineroar will be back another day. But what a nice prediction there from Federico, just understanding that if the Flamigo was going to be going for damage, then you're going to be able to knock it out with that Hyper Voice. But if it just protects itself or switches into the Amoonguss, which was the other way that it could be played, well, you've got a good chance of knocking out, and if not knocking out, just nearly knocking out the Incineroar, making sure it can't just keep pivoting in.
Yeah, like, there might be a way back in for Anthony, maybe if you can get some spores off with the Amoonguss, you're going to be taking a lot of damage from the Hurricane. At any point, if you go for dual Wing Beat to KO the Vivian through its Focus Sash, well, that opens up the Premier to KO Flamigo with either Hyper Voice or with Moonblast. But then maybe spores can do stuff.
Does Hurricane knock out the... I don't think Hurricane doesn't knock out the Amoonguss, right?
It's a strong move, but Vivian itself isn't that strong. So I would assume an Amoonguss, even with that little bit of Hyper Voice chip, should probably be able to survive. Yeah, and Flamigo's switching out. So maybe if the Amoonguss is able to survive, and it's got the Citrus Berry as well, so if it does survive the Hurricane, it will leave the Citrus Berry and definitely survive the Primarina, and that would allow a Spore into either Pokemon here, which could maybe give Anthony a way back into the game, especially with that defensive terror, which means it's not going to be weak to the Hurricane anymore.
Yeah, that's a really good shout there from Anthony, just finding the last vestiges of hope there. And of course, you can actually reactivate the Focus Sash on the Flamigo while one Pokemon is asleep.
Compound Ice Hurricane missed there. So unfortunate. Going to be able to not do the massive damage it could have done. There is that Hyper Voice able to pick up the knockout on that Incineroar as it was on such low HP. But yeah, the Amoonguss free to Spore whichever slot it wants to go for here. It's going to be that Primarina. And now the Flamigo has been freed up to be able to not threaten the knockout into the Vivian with a dual Wing Beat as you Pollen Puff yourself. And if the Primarina stays asleep for 2 turns, yes, like you mentioned, that's back up to Focus Sash.
Yeah, I think this actually could be a lot closer.
It could be doable.
It could be doable. Yeah, I mean, it's likely that the Vivian is going to have to protect this turn from the dual Wing Beat.
Yep.
And I guess, like, I in this situation would still target down into the Vivian with the dual Wing Beat, but I'm wondering if actually looking ahead a few turns, the extra damage from one extra dual Wing Beat, if the Vivian does go for a Protect, could actually clutch out an endgame depending on how long this Primarina stays asleep for. Yeah,
you could play the odds. Like it's a 2 in 3 chance of you coming out and getting your Focus Sash back up if you don't target Vivian, but nope, correctly does target here. Federico trying to get a little bit cheeky there, but nope, dual Wing Beat went into that Vivian, and like we mentioned, over the Brave Bird. Brave Bird wouldn't have done it, but KOing through the Focus Sash with the dual Wing Beat, very, very nicely done indeed. Primarina was guaranteed to sleep that turn, so this is almost certainly going to be that Pollen Puff to try and heal that Flamigo back up, but you do need to rest the sleep this turn. You can't protect and Pollen Puff yourself. It has to be that you'll be able to Pollen Puff yourself back up. So if the Primarina was going to stay asleep this turn, you get your Focus Sash back, and then suddenly Flamigo would actually be able to break through with that dual Wing Beat.
I tell you what, let's just put the Flamigo to the side for a moment. How is the Primarina going to be able to get through effectively that Amoonguss as well?
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be doing decent damage, but not lots of damage. And if it's asleep for turn after turn after turn, Amoonguss can just keep sporing it, and then it's Pollen Puff after Pollen Puff after Pollen Puff.
Yeah, that's probably why he forfeited there.
Yeah, exactly. That's a long end game to play. And to be honest, I would have liked to see how that would have played out, because there's a lot of different factors there. I mean, Moonblast can special attack drop on the Amoonguss, which actually could make a difference. Over 5, 6, 7 Pollen Puffs that would have been needed to take the knockout on the Primarina, since it resists that bug type being a part fairy type. So yeah, interesting endgame. It really did look like Federico
didn't believe in the 3 Pokemon that were remaining. I thought, well, you can't break through Primarina anymore. Where's the damage? It had to be Golden Go. Dual Wing Beat's not going to be enough, but like 3 Dual Wing Beats will be enough if you've got the opportunity to go for it, because you'd be back to your Focus Sash most likely. I think if the Primarina had woken up in that situation, it was still doable for Federico, and we will never know how that would end up. But if it did stay asleep, I'm pretty confident that Anti would have taken that game.
Well, let's look forward into game 3 now, Jamie. We've got these 2 trainers, such close margins between them. We had the switch up from Anthony bringing Golden Go, and it was enough to be able to take the win in game 2 against Federico. What are you thinking about going into game 3 in terms of switch-ups?
Well, I think the Golden Go adjustment for both trainers were very good here, and maybe it was a speed tie. It seemed like it based on the reaction of Anthony, and it seems like it was what he's going for again. Interesting that he's leading with the Amoonguss as well, because now with a switch up immediately with this Incineroar and Golden Go, the Amoonguss is kind of useless again.
Kind of useless, but it can, yeah, no, it can't even redirect, can it? So, yeah, but it does open the door for Amoonguss to just switch into Incineroar and cycle those fake outs, put some pressure onto the Golden Go on Federico's side. But in doing so, you do open the door for a nasty plot on Federico's side. So the question is what is Golden Go on Anthony's side going to be doing? Is it going to get a Shadow Ball into Federico's Golden Go like it tried to in game 2? Or is it going to be felled again by the combination of attacks of Golden Go and Incineroar?
And there's no Terra here as well, so if that is Shadow Ball, it's going to be interesting too. Move forward. There it was. It was a speed tie. It was a speed tie, and Anthony wins it this time.
One hit KO.
Yes, a Life Orb Shadow Ball always KOs an opposing Golden Go. The Metal Coat one might not have been able to be strong enough into Anthony's, but yeah, the speed tie one in this case from Anthony's side of the field. So we did see that, and now the Golden Go on Federico's side taken care of. Here comes the Primarina, but Anthony has just switched in fake out pressure to be able to go for a fake out very safely into the Incineroar, and nothing will stop the nasty plot. Yes, you could go for Haze, but you don't achieve anything on that turn. So yeah, that is a huge, huge speed tie win for that Golden Go.
And a massive shake up to the momentum of this game. And now we've got to kind of re-establish ourselves. Like, now it's Federico's turn to find a win condition in a very bleak situation. I mean, you really do want your Golden Go to be doing good work in the matchup. You want it to be doing a lot of damage, but now, unlike in game 2, Federico doesn't have the Golden Go to do that, and Anthony can take advantage of it.
Yeah, switching in the Vivillon here, so it's nothing like a Garchomp again for Federico, which would have absolutely been the best way to break through the opposing Golden Go and Incineroar on Anthony's side of the field, which is now going for its Terastallization into that Dragon type. So unless there's a Moonblast coming out into it from the opposing Primarina, it's going to very, very safely be able to click that Nasty Plot button, and it's not going to take any damage this turn because Primarina is going for Protect instead. It was going to be a fake out into that Primarina. Yeah, nice. That covers for going for the Moonblast into that Golden Go, but this is a very, very free Nasty Plot.
And it doesn't matter if you lose the Life Orb at this stage. Your Golden Go's used the Life Orb to do what it needed to do. You called it out. Making sure the Shadow Ball knocked out the other Golden Go. Then you can just go for the Terra. If you get your Life Orb knocked off, well, doesn't matter because you got the
But you didn't.
Instead.
You didn't. So this is probably strong enough to KO the Primarina now that you've got your +2.
+1?
Yeah, no, it was Shadow Ball. It's Shadow Ball. It didn't make it. It didn't make it rain as it often does. It was Shadow Ball. This is +2 Golden Go. This might be enough to knock out the Primarina in one shot. And even if it's not, it's going to bring it down so close to the red. Maybe just get that extra little bit of chip damage with the Incineroar. Because if you do go for a Flare Blitz into that Primarina, that would put it in range of +2 make it rain with a Life Orb for sure.
Or you break the Focus Sash on the Vivillon, or you just make sure that the Primarina is not quite as threatening this turn. But I do wonder if that's a Haze coming out from Federico. That would really, really change the momentum here. And I'm a little bit surprised, actually, that Anthony didn't go on the offensive. As you say, it was so easy to be able to take big knockouts there. But Primarina instead going for the Hyper Voice, not going to be very effective into that Amoonguss. And wow, this game 3 is much different to the last 2 games.
Oh, for sure. And now that Amoonguss going to be able to keep that Golden Go safe from any Moonblast if it does want to. It threatens a Spore into that Pre-Marina that you could go for as well. You could Spore the Vivian. You could even Pollen Puff KO the Vivian after it's been brought down, definitely brought down to its Focus Sash after that +2 Make It Rain. Even if there's an Incineroar switch in, that's still going to probably take around half of its HP because of that boost and because of the Life Orb going on top of that. And then if you switch your Vivian out, then suddenly Pre-Marina is almost certainly KO'd or put to sleep as well. And if it's the Pre-Marina that switches out, Vivian, it's not really doing too much. Yes, Hurricane will do some very nice damage to the opposing Amoonguss. Maybe you still target the Golden Go and hope for some fusions. But yeah, it's Pre-Marina switching out here. So Incineroar, it will take this Make It Rain, but it's still going to be huge damage coming out.
And it's definitely not going to like it one bit, as Intimidate doesn't do anything. Incineroar is switching in just for that typing. Hurricane.
Oh, there it is.
Here we go.
Oh.
Confusion off the Hurricane. That was one of Federico's win conditions here.
Oh.
And the Golden Go's confused.
Oh, it hit itself.
It hit itself.
Oh.
No Make It Rain coming out from Antony's side of the field. It's going to be the Pollen Puff breaking the Focus Sash on the Vivillon, but that Vivillon is still on the board, and we saw already that it would be able to pick up a knockout on the Golden Go this turn if it wants to. It's got the Fake Out support next to it with Incineroar, so yeah, Federico finding a way to come back into this game 3.
Yeah, normally you would be able to incredibly safely go for a double protect in this situation. It's not safe because maybe the Golden Go isn't able to protect because of another the confusion coming out from the Hurricane. If you can double protect, that's still pretty good because then you'd be able to Rage Powder away the Hurricane that could have been a KO into Golden Go and still get off your Make It Rain. But yeah, Federico going for the win condition that he can spot, getting that confusion into the opposing Golden Go. No double protect though coming out here. It is going to be a Fake Out into that opposing Golden Go and a massive Hurricane coming out from into the Amoonguss. It was enough to be able to pick up the KO thanks to that little bit of chip.
The little mushroom that couldn't, going down to the Hurricane there. Golden Go, of course, flinching from the Fake Out. Now Antony gets an opportunity to bring his own Fake Out here, but there is also that one unrevealed Pokemon, and it could be that Flamigo there, putting the pressure onto the Vivian, putting the pressure onto Incineroar, and now there's some mind games to play. Does the Vivian go for a Rage Powder to stop the close combat into the Incineroar? Is the dual Wing Beat just the move of choice? But does Vivian protect from that and give Incineroar an opportunity to break the Focus Sash on Flamigo or do that last little bit of damage to the Golden Go?
Yeah, if you dual Wing Beats and KO the Vivian, you won't be able to KO the opposing Incineroar here. Going for a protect, most likely it seems. There's the confusion. It hits itself again!
No protect coming out!
Confusion hits. That would have been a protect, keeping it safe. But there's the close combat into the opposing Incineroar. No Rage Powder coming out either. That's a clean one-hit KO into the opposing Incineroar. So is it going to be a Hurricane into the Flamigo potentially, or is it going to be a KO into that opposing Golden Go, which would free up the Pre-Marina? There it is. There is the Hurricane into the opposing Golden Go, and it is able to pick up the KO. So we're back to where we were previously. Where's the damage now going to come into the Pre-Marina?
Well, there's no Amoonguss this time. There's nothing to put that Pre-Marina to sleep. There is the Incineroar that can parting shot and make sure that the damage on the Pre-Marina has been put a little bit more under control. And of course, Antony does have that Fake Out pressure to give himself a little bit of breathing room in this endgame scenario. But both of the Pokemon on Federico's side can go for a protect. You can just burn the Fake Out and then go for damage in the next turns. And of course, as we were saying, dual Wing Beat's probably not going to be doing too much to the Pre-Marina. Maybe there's a world where the Citrus Berry gets knocked off. That might give Antony a little bit more opportunity to knock out the Pre-Marina. But there it is, the double protect. No Fake Out going to be in play this turn.
No, but then that means you can very safely go for your dual Wing Beat KO into the opposing Vivian, and then assumedly go for either the knockoff to get rid of the Citrus Berry, or maybe parting shot to try and allow your Pokemon to survive. There is also the mind game of, well, when you've KO'd this Vivian, assumedly the Vivian is now going down to the dual Wing Beat. The next turns, do you potentially Wide Guard on a Hyper Voice that would try and snipe off the Incineroar while breaking the Focus Sash of the Flamigo? Yeah. But then if you catch the Hyper Voice, then maybe here's another knockoff to get rid of the Citrus Berry or another parting shot, and then you should be able to survive. So like this could come down to a really, really interesting endgame. Like, I can't see the real damage into the Primarina, but that won't matter if you survive through multiple turns of just, well, I'm chipping away and suddenly your Citrus Berry's gone, and now you're not doing much damage because of parting shots. So this is going to be so incredibly close in this endgame.
I think Moonblast is definitely the play. I mean, Incineroar's going to do less damage than Flamigo to Primarina, so you've definitely got to consider it. But of course, we haven't been talking about the option to go for the Terra. Is
this going to be enough?
Ghost on the Vivian. Vivion's not known for being good at taking hits, certainly not
Dual Wing beats way weaker though, but no, it's close combat. He called it! He called the Terra! He went for the close combat into the Ghost, which is definitely enough to KO. We saw the Dual Wing beat damage previously. I don't think it would have been enough into the Terra Ghost, but he called the Terra Ghost. Absolutely fantastic. The Scrappy coming through in close combat, cleanly one-hit KOs that opposing Vivian, and there goes the Citrus Berry thanks to that knockoff from the Incineroar. That was like reasonable damage here. The Focus Sash is still in plate for the Flamigo as well. Yes, there is the Hyper Voice to break that Focus Sash. I say break the Focus Sash, bring it down to the Focus Sash. So is there going to be enough damage here? Because, yeah, the Citrus Berry gone. Is Dual Wing Beat going to be enough paired with the Flare Blitz? Or do you go for potentially that Wide Guard to get an extra turn of Flare Blitz damage into the opposing from Primarina as well?
But if you play the next level, then maybe the Flamigo goes for the Protect on the Moonblast and the Incineroar gets an opportunity.
Yeah, there's no guarantee. There's no safe way.
Absolutely all mind games for these players to be going in the last turns of this game. I can't wait to see what these players... There's too much here, too many layers of different protection for these players to go for. It really does come down to the decision-making process. Who can get in the other player's mind and decide on what they're going to do? Well, Federico wants a little bit of a clue as to how Anthony's thinking this time, just going for the Protect. It is a straight Dual Wing Beat and a presumably Flare Blitz onto the Primarina. Now, there hasn't been any Intimidates onto the Incineroar either. So maybe that's actually enough because there's no Citrus Berry anymore to be able to knock out that Primarina just regardless. We're not actually playing mind games. Just the combination of attacks would be enough.
Yeah, but there's still no safe way. Yeah, like you could Moonblast into the Incineroar. There's the Wide Guard. Did he go for the Hyper Voice?
Okay, here we go.
This could be a tiny bit of extra chip into the Incineroar. So yeah, there's the Flare Blitz. It's not going to KO itself to the recoil. That's a little bit of extra chip, so that we guarantee that's got to be in range of Dual Wing Beat now, because Fumi is actually pretty strong. And there is the Hyper Voice. So that's an extra turn that Anthony has given himself. And Dual Wing Beat and Flare Blitz will be enough to KO this Primarina. The Dual Wing Beat might, but it will be really close. But you've got the extra turn of Flare Blitz now. Dual Wing Beat not 100% accurate, of course, but it should be enough to be able to KO the Primarina, and it does connect. There's the first Dual Wing Beat. There's the second Dual Wing Beat. That's in range of Flare Blitz.
Hit points.
We've seen the Incineroar faster than the Primarina. It's going to be able to pick up the KO here, and somehow Anthony has clawed his way back and is able to win this round 8 and make it into day 2 of the Dortmund Regional Championships. And I think we're speechless.
I can hear the crowd through my headphones right now. Oh, they are going absolutely wild. Anthony here taking the win against Federico Camporesi, the underdog in this matchup in our top 8, taking out all the stops, playing for their win conditions. That game 2 that they found a way, even in a bad position, to be able to take a win, took it to a game 3, and then found...